Hey you guys, what is up and welcome back to another Alicia Dion podcast. I am so excited to be tuning in for the fourth podcast. I know I've been releasing lots of these recently, but there is good reason, and that is that I truly believe you cannot binge something if there is less than 4 of them. You need at least 4, whether that be Netflix episodes or podcasts or I don't know, books, whatever you want to binge, you need at least 4. So I wanted to make sure I had at least 4 podcasts live and up on the channel before I released any more normal videos, just so that it was there in case anybody was interested in doing a good podcast binge. So we are jumping into our 4th podcast today, so excited, and we have more travel stories and outrageous tales to tell you this week. If you want to hear your story read out on the podcast, or you have some amazing tips that you want to share, or an outrageous event that you want to write to me in detail about to have a good laugh about, then please drop me an email, helloaliciadion@gmail.com. The spelling of my channel is on my channel, but I'll go through it anyway. So it's hello, spelt the old-fashioned way, and then Alicia Dion, ALICIADIONE @gmail.com. I hope you beautiful people are all doing super well this week. I have moved to the early shift at work, and so far, I'm actually doing okay. I thought I would be dying. I thought I would be dead at this point already. But I've been pretty good at getting to bed early and, just getting those 8 hours in. It's so important. The difference between 6 and 7 hours or 7 and 8 hours, huge. So huge. Now, if you were listening to the podcast last week, you heard my crazy encounters with the wind. If you haven't heard my near-death experience and my very embarrassing near passing out in an important meeting stories, please make sure to go and listen to episode 3. It's a good episode. We had a hoot and we had some really good write-ins and emails from some amazing listeners. So once again, if you want to join those amazing people who are writing in, you can reach me, helloaliciadion@gmail.com. I'm actually pretty impressed with myself today getting to the podcast because my brain kind of gave up halfway through the day. And I do think that that's part of the getting up early. And if you guys have seen my other videos, I did do a 6 a.m. challenge not too long ago, which near put me in the grave. No word of a lie. I'm not exaggerating. And yes, I have started the research for a Science Explained video on night owls versus morning larks and the science behind it. Can we change it? Why is it? And all that jazz. So the research has been good to have a little read of. But today my brain just decided that it was gonna kind of turn into a toddler's brain at around 2:30. And it wasn't that I wasn't focused and working hard, it's that I just became a little bit, I don't know, when the phone would ring, I'd kind of sing along to the tune of the phone. And also when I was just typing out a sentence, maybe responding to an important email, I just wouldn't be able to form the words in front of me. And then the pinnacle of my tiredness kicked in at one point when I literally read an issue regarding a double glazed window. And for whatever reason at work, I needed to use the sentence. No, not the sentence. See, still happening. The words double glazing. And I tried to go through my question. And when it got to the point where I needed to say double glazing, my mind just went completely blank. And I stood there trying to find the words. And this is no word of a lie what came out of my mouth. A window, but twice. Which I personally think is a genius. It describes perfectly what double glazed windows are. And the person I was talking to instantly knew what I was talking about. But it was quite funny. And it didn't make me look very intelligent. But that's what happens when I break my rule of no caffeine before 10 a.m, treat myself to a coffee, and then turn my brain to potato mash at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, today's podcast is a little bit special because I am going to be carrying on the trend of the insane travel stories, but I thought it's only right that I share with you one of mine. So I thought that we would dive into this story because it's probably one of the most insane experiences I've ever had in my entire life. All of my close friends will know this story. When I first told one of my best friends that this was the podcast that I was going to do and that this was the purpose of this podcast, the first thing out of her mouth was, "You have to tell the Philadelphia story." And it's true. I have to tell the Philadelphia story. And I thought I would say it now instead of doing another emailing read today, because I just thought I'd put my 2 cents forward and then we can go back to your emails. And you know what? I have a few crazy travel stories, so I will plop them in. Plop, is that the word I want to go for? I will drop them in eloquently throughout different podcasts for you guys to listen, enjoy, and revel in hilarity at my expense and the insane situations that I seem to be able to get myself into. Okay, so a fair bit of warning. Sometimes with my podcasts, I like to plan, I like to think it through and maybe make some notes and some bullet points. I tried to do that with this story so that I didn't miss anything, and just trying to compartmentalize this one story in my head was too difficult. I couldn't do it. It was flying all over the place. And I haven't told this story in a long time. I mean, I've told my immediate friendship group, and it's not something I would probably bring up on my first meet with people. So I probably haven't told this story in about 12 months. Now, I'm going to wing it. And hopefully you guys are going to love this story, because truly, this is the story they will be telling at my funeral. And I'm only 24 years old. So the fact that I know that this is probably one of the, if not the craziest thing that's ever going to happen to me, buckle in, guys, because you're in for a ride and I hope you enjoy it. I've probably bigged the story up too much now, but here we go. Okay, so I have a best friend that I had mentioned earlier. She's the person that insisted I tell the Philadelphia story as soon as physically possible on the podcast. She did a year abroad in Canada. And while she was doing her year abroad, she decided that she was going to travel down and do a little tour of 4 different states in the USA. Now, I've always wanted to go to the USA, but I really didn't want to go whilst Trump was in power, because in a way it kind of felt like I was supporting something that I didn't believe in. But that's just silly. But I just honestly didn't want to be on the same continent as him. I didn't want to be that close to him, even though we would have been thousands of miles from each other. Didn't want to be that close to him. Anyway, the opportunity was too good to pass up. So we organised this brilliant 3-week trip. We started in New York, and then we went to Boston, then we went to Philadelphia, and then we went to Washington, D.C. And we had an amazing time. It was a really incredible trip, and we stayed in lots of different little Airbnbs. We were pretty thrifty, and we got to see lots of America and experience New York City for 3 days and all of the hype that comes with it. So it was a really exciting time. One of the other reasons that I hadn't been to America since turning 18 was because, I'm sorry, but I'm British. The idea that you can't drink until you're 21 in America, this might just be the cultural alcoholism that runs so beautifully through France, Spain, England, Ireland, and New Zealand. I can testify since I got here. But the idea of going away somewhere where it was then illegal for me to drink alcohol was just bizarre. So I was definitely waiting till I was 21. Speaking of international, binge drinking habits, I found out the most insane thing the other day about New Zealand. So the first Saturday of every December is called Crate Day. So it's very imaginative in its name. I'll explain what Crate Day is very quickly to you. Crate Day is when you buy a crate of beers, which is 12 bottles, and you make your way through it in one day. And it's a time where everyone gets together with their friends, they have a crate of beer each, and all through the day they drink 600 mils times 12 of beer. And apparently the emergency services hate it, apparently the nurses hate it, and the hospitals are full because everyone gets wasted and cuts themselves on glass and has the most amazing day. But yeah, it was good to know that it's a semi-national holiday over here, and the name of it is Crate Day. Anyway, back to the story. Sorry for that little side tangent, but what do you expect? It's me. So the first thing you need to know about me and my bestie, she's called Beth. We love her. She's amazing. She loves history and she loves politics, and they are things that she is extremely knowledgeable about and really enjoys experiencing. Like, seeing the Constitution was a big deal for her. Going to see the Liberty Bell, going to see the Washington Monument, the White House, all of these things really important to her. Now, I know it doesn't sound like it, but trust me, she's a really fun gal. And she is an amazing person. I love her a lot. However, there are certain things that she wanted to see in America that they cost money. And we're both students at this point. Bearing in mind, I'm a midwifery student, so I am extremely poor. So we basically are budgeting our amounts of money for different things. So for example, if we went out drinking, I probably had one more drink than her. Whereas if there was entry to a museum to see an old piece of paper that I had no interest in, I wasn't going in, and I was going to go get a smoothie or sunbathe or sit by a fountain. But for the most part, we spent the entire trip together. Now, this is where the Philadelphia trip begins, and it begins with the Liberty Bell. When we left our Airbnb in Philadelphia, we had to walk for 10-15 minutes, and then we had to catch 2 subways in order to get to the Liberty Bell. We were on both subways for about 10 minutes each. So just let that sink in for a second, because this is going to be important information later. We make it to the Liberty Bell, we queue, we look around, all is well. But there is a museum that she wants to go into to have a look around, and I'm not really interested in what they have on display. However, there is a bar, a 18-minute walk away, called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. How can I not go to a bar called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? In Philadelphia. I had at this point watched about 6 series of the show, and I just wanted to go check it out and see if it was the same, see if it was based off the same kind of pub vibe. I loved it. She went off to the museum, and I made my way downtown to this bar. Now, it wasn't what I was expecting, but I'm not easily intimidated. I walked in, and now let me also just paint this picture. I don't think I looked my age. I was 21, but I was wearing like a green tennis dress, which probably made me look like 19, and white Converse. My hair was not straightened or curled. It was kind of puffy. I didn't have any makeup on. So I looked young. So heads turned when I walked into this bar, because there were like 6 people drinking at the time. They were all over the age of 50. The majority of them were men, and they were half gone, even though it was 2:00 in the afternoon. So I stood my ground, because I think there were a couple of comments passed when I walked in, but I didn't really say anything. I made my way to the bar, and I bought myself a beer. And I sat and I messaged my other friends who loved the show It's Always Sunny that I was in a bar called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And it was brilliant. Now, when I ordered my drink, they could tell that I was British, and the girl on the bar was super nice, but there was a guy drinking not too far away with one of his work colleagues. I'd say he was in his mid-50s, and he was like, so you're from across the pond? And I'm like, yeah, if that's what you want to call it. So I got into this conversation with this man, and he was a hoot. We had such a good time swapping stories, and him and his wife had no kids, and they loved it, and they spent all of their money going around the world and going to music concerts. That's what they love to do. And this man had seen Muse in concert, and I think it was this number, 27 times. 27 times. Let that sink in for a second. He had seen pretty much every band I could name live, and he'd seen them multiple times. I'm talking 4, 5, 6, 7, 27 times. It was insane. So we shooted the breeze. He was like, let me buy you a beer. Welcome to America. This was a system actually that I loved. I hadn't finished my beer yet, but this pub had a policy where, you know those casino chips that you can get? You could get a casino chip for a drink. So they would pay for the drink, and the bartender would give you a poker chip, and you could keep hold of it and cash your drink in when you were ready for your next drink. I thought that was so cool. I loved that. Eventually, my buddy Beth came back from the museum, and she joined in on the conversation. She too has also seen so many different bands live. She's been to so many concerts. She's been all over the world. She really is an amazing, adventurous person. So they had lots to chat about. And partway through the conversation, I decided that I was going to go to the toilet, to the ladies' room. So I got up from my seat and I walked to the bathroom, and there was this big group of people who I'd say were between the ages of 21 and 26. And there was about 8 or 9 of them. And as I walked to the bathroom, this was a very small Irish pub, like all wooden floors and bars and not too wide. And the bathroom was like a single bathroom at the back of the bar. So I walked my way there, and as they moved to let me through to get to the bathroom, one of the boys that was there said, "Damn, are they checking IDs in here?" Probably not in a southern accent because he definitely wasn't from the South. I can't do the American accent. I just did some experimenting, but I'm going to cut that out of the podcast. Okay, so I was a little bit tipsy at this point, so I just turned around and went, 1997, bitches, and then I closed the bathroom door. So that was a first impression to make, but I went with it. Let me skip forward for you a little bit in this story because it's about to get real good. I end up talking to this group of people. The conversation that Beth is having with the lovely gent, he has reached the end of his day drinking. It's like 4 p.m. now, 5 p.m, and he's gone home. She comes over and I introduce her to the 7 people that I've managed to befriend in Philadelphia. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia bar. We chat, we have more drinks, they buy more drinks for us. In America, it seems that they're quite big on chasers. So you have your beer, but you also have your shot. So they kept buying these Jameson shots, which were like, I want to say that I think they were more than 50 mils, which I loved. And we started to get pretty wasted and we really needed dinner at this point. So then they invited us to join them for dinner. And I want to say to anybody who is listening to this podcast and is a young person traveling the world, the neighbor's dog has decided to just go a little bit mental. If there is anyone traveling the world and you are a young person and you are listening to this story, enjoy my story, but don't copy my actions. Stranger danger is real, and when you are traveling, especially as a young woman, as much as we don't want it to be this way, it is this way. And I know not all men, but a lot of goddamn men, okay? Please be careful and maybe make different choices than me. It all worked out very well for me, but still, when looking back on the evening, myself and Beth do wonder if our choices were all above board. Anyway, so they invite us to dinner. And we're a bit worried because we are on a budget every day. I'm talking to the dollar. And if we save that dollar one day, then we can divide it against the remaining days. I'm talking very tight budget. So we try and find out where they're going. And they just tell us that we're going to go to a little Italian place. The main guy, the guy who made the comment when I went into the bathroom originally, he was clearly the alpha of the group and he was organizing it. And it was the place that he went to eat with his family. And that's where everyone was going. Everyone was fine with that. So sorry, the dog is still going at it, but I'm just going to push through because I have no idea how long this dog is going to be barking outside, and I hope it's not too much of a problem. So the next thing we're told is that there is a driver waiting for us, and myself and Beth are wondering who this person is that in the middle of Philadelphia, they managed to get a driver outside this random pub in the space of like 3 minutes. Like, no joke. This driver knew this alpha guy, right? I'm trying to remember what his name was. I know that one of the guys was called Mario. And there was a girl, and she was either called Bailey or Barley or something like that. And the main guy, what was his name? I think it was Anthony, if I had to take a guess. So this alpha guy who is taking us to this Italian restaurant is called Anthony. Now, we get into this car, and I really hope they're not listening to this podcast. My God. Okay, so we get into this car. Again, hear my story and enjoy, but don't do as I do. And we make our way to wherever this bar is. We are in the car for probably 4 to 6 minutes, not long at all. We get out, and me and Beth are looking around, and we see no restaurant. There is nowhere to eat anywhere in sight. It's just houses, like townhouses. And we're like, I thought we were going to a restaurant. What is going on? And they all kind of followed this Anthony guy down the steps of one of the houses to this door. I am not telling a word of a lie. He knocked on this door in some sort of pattern. This was not just like a rap, This was not it was a special knock. There was something about this knock that was identifying in itself. And moments after the knock finished, an eye slit opened in the door with a bouncer on the other side to see who it was. He was at the front, and we were all of his like +8, +9s, okay? And he had to vouch for us. And then the door opened. We were in an underground speakeasy. Red velvet curtains fell from the ceiling to the floor on golden rails. dark wood bar, dark wood table, a jukebox, martinis and cocktails for days. We were shown to our table and only Anthony was given a menu. We were being ordered for. He ordered a round of martinis for the table, and he ordered some bread and some fish and some other Italian food. I don't really know. And we sat and we ate it. Now, these martinis were the most disgusting drinks I have ever had in my entire life. It was like drinking... Now, I don't like martinis to start with, so maybe that's part of it. But it was a bit like drinking olive brine. The food came, we ate it all, we tried to stomach our martinis. One of the guys pulled me up to dance, which was great fun. And then me and Beth managed to sneak away to the bathroom together to be like, what the hell is happening? How have we managed to find our way into some... I swear to God, it must have been some sort of Mafia speakeasy. It must have been. It was so discreet. And when the bill came to the table, we didn't eat that much food, okay? And we had one round of drinks. It was over $700. And none of us paid a penny. And I don't know what this $700 was for. It must have been for entry for like 8+1s, because I just don't see how that much money was spent on what we had. So we had a lovely time and we're thinking, okay, we probably need to start heading home soon. Now, the next decision is the decision that I would definitely say don't make. But again, it worked out okay for me, but that does not mean it's going to work out okay for you. We went outside and the Mafia son, or whoever he was, called around another car. Now, he decided that he was going to walk home as opposed to get in the car with all of us, and that it was going back to his 3-story townhouse. So, as I think what helped, there were a lot of us, there were also girls there who seemed very comfortable and happy. You know, they wanted to like swap Instagrams, and I just had a feeling that we were okay, and I wasn't too worried, and neither was Beth. And Beth is a very sensible person. So we got into the car and we went back to this house, and there was a ping pong table, there was an open plan kitchen and free beer, and then there was beer pong downstairs as well. Like, the downstairs of this place was basically a games room. And then the middle floor was being used for drinking and music and having a good time. And I never went upstairs because I don't make that poor choices. So as the night went on, we had a lovely time, but me and Beth are like, it is late. How are we going to get back? Because we did, like I said earlier, we walked for 20 minutes and then we took 2 subways to get to the Liberty Bell. And so far we've been in a car twice for a total of 5 or 6 minutes. As the night went on, I did actually have a drink spilled on me. And like I said earlier, I was wearing this green tennis dress, and one of the guys said, it's fine, I'll get you a t-shirt. Now, I was pretty buzzed at this point, okay? I was having a good time. I'd had quite a few beers, and he handed me this t-shirt, and I, with full gratitude, said, thanks, and put it on over my dress. I still own this t-shirt. I still have it. It's in my wardrobe at home back in England. On reflection, the next morning when me and Beth woke up, we realised, why would you give a t-shirt to someone whose dress is soaking wet? You want to take the wet item of clothing off, right? So maybe that was the intention with the t-shirt. Maybe I wasn't supposed to just be like, oh, this is great, thanks, and whip it on over the top of my dress. Maybe I was supposed to swap one out for the other. But luckily, that is not how my brain works. That is not what happened. And I walked around in a tennis dress and an extra really baggy old blue t-shirt for the rest of the evening. Now, they all decided that they wanted to go out dancing. And it was already 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we had a bus to Washington, D.C. at 6 a.m. Was it 5 a.m.? No, at 6 a.m. the next morning. And we were like, we have to be up in 5.5 hours. And we are still at some random's house at God knows what time in the morning. Now, this is the end of the story. So I'm going to wrap this podcast up pretty much after this, because I just wanted to share this with you today. But if you know how this could have happened, if you live in Philadelphia or you live in America and you know Philadelphia well, and you could explain this to me, please drop it in the comment section below, because it is like a Chinese puzzle box that me and Beth have never been able to figure out. Geologically, it shouldn't be possible. We walked out of this house panicked on how we were going to get home, but we were just like, we will get an Uber. It's fine. We will get a taxi and we will just have to pay because we have to get back to our Airbnb. The subways probably won't be running anymore. Also, where the hell is the nearest subway station? Like, we didn't feel like we were close to one. We walked out this house and we walked 2 blocks to our Airbnb. We stepped outside, Beth Googled it, and she was like, it's a 4-minute walk away. How is that possible? How is it possible that we were at the Liberty Bell? We took 2 5-minute car journeys, not very quick by the way, partially in traffic, lots of traffic lights, and somehow we ended up a 4-minute walk from our apartment. I don't know. Maybe the underground speakeasy was on rails. Maybe we got transported. No, obviously, I'm kidding. But we cannot work this out at all. And I've messaged her today because I'm doing the podcast, but obviously they're all asleep in the UK, asking her if she can go into her account and find out the address of the Airbnb that we were staying to see if I could like MapQuest it and figure out how this was physically possible. But no word of a lie, that is what happened. Everything I told you in this story is 100% fact. And that is my crazy travel story. If you guys want to write in to the podcast, please do helloaliciadion@gmail.com. I'm going to wrap this podcast up for now. It was so nice to check in with you guys and to tell my Philadelphia story to you all, because this little community of subscribers, I know we're small and I know we're growing very, very slowly, but every single subscriber, every single like and comment means so much to me, and I really do love bringing you guys content every single week. I also love it when you guys request content, so if there's anything you want, whether that be about if you want to know more about something in a podcast, or if you want a science explained video, or if there's somewhere in New Zealand you think me and Ben should visit and do a vlog, drop it in the comment section below and I will see what I can organize for you. Have an amazing week. I love you guys so much. Make sure to subscribe, drop me a like, and I'm out of here. Bye.